evaluate our players. Every year, you're looking at what your football team needs, where you are from a bunch of different perspectives, and feel like that's the thing that we wanted to do. We've done it here before. It's something that we'll look at over the next couple of days, potentially doing again. There's the old adage that it's never as bad as you think or never as good as you think as a coach when you go in to watch the tape. I would tell you with any of our players, and in particular Dillon, who wants to be great and wants to be great at practice, there's times that you're going to go through a tough period out here at practice, a tough 7-on-7, a tough team period, whatever it may be, and then you really try to learn from those reps.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
And we're off and running. It's full-blown controversy time. We're a full-blown controversy. We're at DEF CON's. I'm willing to say, good God, I'm willing to go as high as DEF CON 2. I'm willing to go that high.
You're talking about the quarterback position?
Yeah.
I thought there was no controversy.
This is controversial.
Joe Flacco's your starting quarterback week 1 and get Cincinnati.
Well,
is that not done?
I think that everybody knows that. I'm talking about because.
Oh, you're talking about a backup quarter or a third string or a fourth string. If you have a second, third, or fourth string quarterback controversy, do you really have one?
I think 216-474-0092. Is this a quarterback controversy or not? It seems to be there. The talk is still the NFL. Even though you have other situations go, well, not the talk of the NFL. I think the Micah Parsons situation is pretty
that kind of took over
bizarre.
Everything this
weekend. There's a couple things, but the Browns are up there. Browns are like top 3. Got to tell you, this Shedeur Sanders and the whole Dillon Gabriel thing, and boy, Daryl just took a big can of gas and poured it all over the fire. Took a big can of fire and poured it over the gas is what he did. This is some strong stuff. I'm driving Saturday morning. When did he send this? Yeah. I'm driving Saturday morning, and I'm getting text, and my phone just beep, 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 beep. I'm going, it's all on Daryl's tweet. All about what Daryl said. Good, bad, ugly, whatever you wanted to do. There were people who agreed with Daryl and what he said. There were people who vehemently disagreed with Daryl and what he said. There were people who were cussing Daryl out on my phone. All Saturday morning.
Do you want to tell people the Daryl tweet?
I do, and I should. Albert Breer, this would have been Saturday morning. He said, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but in reality, Dillon Gabriel is ahead of Shedeur Sanders right now and has been since both arrived in Cleveland. Sanders has worked to catch up, but he's got a lot of ground to make up. And then Daryl quotes it and says, I don't know how to say this, but Dillon Gabriel shouldn't be ahead of the ball boys. Every time I watch him, I think to myself, they can't be serious with this kid. And the heat was on.
Yeah, so the first part of it, Albert Breer, right, that has to be true, right? What Albert put out has to be true, or else the Browns would have been operating differently.
So, yeah, you'd think so.
So you didn't find the Albert Breer tweet to be controversial.
No.
Many of our listeners did.
Why?
Because they keep getting all the reports of how bad Dillon Gabriel is. So if Shedeur is behind him, how is Shedeur even on the roster then?
Breer's tweet started with Zach just tweeting that new 11-on-11 period and Dillon was with the ones.
Yes.
That's how it all started there. So obviously, if you look at who he's getting to do his reps with, your eyes would tell you he's ahead of Shedeur Sanders because Shedeur hasn't had that opportunity.
What can he get to do on Saturday?
He just did his
he was out.
individual drills.
Okay. So if you don't have Kenny out there and Joe isn't going to take them all, well, the next one in line is going to be Dillon. I almost said Shedeur. Next one in line is going to be Dillon. So if Dillon's the next one in line, then Dillon's going to take the reps of the ones. Hey, we can not like it all we want. I think Friday is going to be the day that we get to see it all, right? That's going to be for us in the general public when we can really start to see it down the line. It's going to be Friday because I'm imagining those two guys are going to play. I'm a little bit worried about Shedeur's arm. I mean, if we're talking about soreness here, arm soreness.
Well, and he, according to, was it Mary Kay, he voluntarily, told the Browns about his situation. And then if that was the case and the Browns obviously did the smart thing by, you're not going to tax the kid at this stage. You don't want to derail any of his development. These are huge snaps. Every single one he gets at this stage. Something new is being thrown at him every single day. And this week coming up is a monumental week, for him to try to prove himself. You're mentioning Friday, but, the real meat of this is going to be the joint practice.
You have joint practice Wednesday. You have a practice today, but you won't, obviously, it's not joint. Then they go on to Carolina, and then they're going to have a joint practice on Wednesday. They'll have Thursday to get ready for the game. They'll have Friday. That's the game, 7 o'clock, right here on your flagship home for Cleveland Browns football, 92.3 The Fan. We'll get to see probably a lot of those two guys. I don't know how much Kenny Pickett you're going to see. I imagine we're not going to see any Joe Flacco. So I think that Joe Flacco's probably started. I mean, this is bizarre. And I think what some people want to ask, is, are we kind of wasting our time here with Dillon Gabriel? I know that Daryl and Nick Padone, were on yesterday during the day on Sunday, and they have their Sunday. And it usually, Sundays have become very explosive between those two here over the last few months. And here are them talking about the Browns putting Dillon Gabriel in a bad spot.
They're putting him in a bad spot. You're forcing me to evaluate this kid like he's a first-round pick. He's not. He's a third-round pick, okay? But I'm having to look at him through the lens of he's a first-round pick. It's clear that you're trying to prepare him to play this year. And I think that that is a grave mistake. He's not ready for it. I am evaluating him not as a third-round pick. I'm evaluating him as a guy who they're giving first-team reps right out of the gate. Every day, this guy is first up. Occasionally, it's Joe Flacco. But every day, it's Dillon Gabriel first up. Why?
They clearly love him because he's smart, because he goes into the meeting rooms, and I'm sure he blows them away. And that's what this regime is. It's computers, it's spreadsheets, it's in the classroom. I understand that they really like the kid's intangibles and that he probably is a really good leader and that he's intelligent. Like, that's all really good, promising things to hear. That doesn't equate to winning football games, but they kind of think that it does.
All right, I disagree with both of them on different fronts. First one with Nick, I mean, if it were computer and spreadsheets, and I don't know if you're taking 5'10" QBs. How much do we have? We have Kyler Murray. How much do we have? Honestly, how much, if it's computers and spreadsheets and algorithms, how much do the algorithms point to taking a 5'10" quarterback who can move a little bit?
If you don't put that column in your spreadsheet, then.
Well, you got to have it accounted in the spreadsheet somewhere.
Well, is it more the numbers? Is it more the velocity of the throws? Is it because when you see his arm, like when he makes an out throw, it's vastly superior to Shedeur.
He's got a strong arm.
In terms of just the arm strength.
But then that's one of the things that people said it's underrated because, and we remember doing this with Baker because Baker was only 6 feet tall. So people went, well, he's not got a strong arm. It's like, no, he's got a very strong arm. You throw the ball through the wall. Hearing that, I don't understand the spreadsheet conversation, the computers conversation. I don't think analytics would tell you to take a guy like that in the third round because it raises people's eyebrows. So you would do the John Dorsey, or the Hugh Jackson, I should say, even. You got to trust me on that because I don't think that analytically it would have taken you to take him in the third round because everybody seemed to be surprised. And I think even analytical people were probably surprised by that. The other part, and where I disagree with Daryl on it, is, okay, Joe's not going to take a lot of those first-team reps. There's going to be minimal for Joe because Joe's 40 years old. He's been doing it for 17 years. Well, they want to get the best out of everybody. Well, if Kenny's not able to really go in a team setting, who's going to get the first-team reps? So they're bitching about it on Sunday. What I don't get, and now I'm getting mad because I got Daryl slapping tables. Well, Shedeur Sanders said he had arm soreness, right? Right. Kenny Pickett still returning from a hamstring injury. Joe's Joe. Okay, well, somebody's going to have to take the first-team reps. They can't play with 10. So it's going to end up being Dillon Gabriel. So why do I have to evaluate Dillon Gabriel as if he's a first? Why do they force Daryl to evaluate Dillon Gabriel as if he's a first-round pick? Dillon's not starting week 1.
No.
So why is Daryl getting so pissed about Dillon Gabriel taking any first-team reps? If Shedeur were healthy on Saturday, then I go, well, maybe Shedeur should have taken some first-team reps. You were going against the first-teamers. Maybe Shedeur should have taken some first-team reps. There's probably no maybe. Shedeur should have taken first-team reps, and then we'd all be moving on. Sorry, go ahead.
Remember what Nathan Zagura told us on Friday.
That he should be taking first-team reps.
He thought Shedeur Sanders had earned those first-team reps based on what he had seen.
So maybe he would have on Saturday had he not self-reported arm soreness.
Which would stink then, because then it's just a missed opportunity. And, at this stage of the game, just same thing when we talked about Kenny Pickett, missed opportunity because of his injury, the hamstring injury that he suffered. That kept him out, and now he's just in individual drills. You remember he was going to be reevaluated, and we were going to see this week if he were actually going to be able to participate. With the rest of the team when they do this practice on Wednesday with Carolina, and then you have the preseason game. I haven't really wavered off this since the day we figured out that there were going to be 4 quarterbacks, and then a 5th one watching from the weight room. This was always, to me, going to be a faulty plan to try to get the best out of any of these guys. It seemed to me that this was going to be self-sabotaging.
Well, there's not a lot to go around. There's not a lot of time and opportunities to get on the field with each other to go around.
But Zach Jackson, I was talking to him over the weekend, and on his pod, he said this was, a traffic jam. It was a self-induced traffic jam. And I thought that's the perfect way to put it. That's what this is. They're all in each other's way. And are you really going to see one emerge in the way that you were hoping? Like me and you talked once we heard about the Pickett stuff last Monday, because that happened over the weekend. Last Monday, we said, all right, quarterback competition's over. So that's the end of it. And then some people tried to say, well, Pickett's coming back. Pickett still hasn't been in those team drills, and we're not even sure what he's going to be able to do this week. It would be really hard for him to overtake. I just think Flacco at this point, I guess Flacco put some nice days together finally after an abysmal start for him. So I don't know. Are we in the same, what would Kenny Pickett have to do, or anybody? But it seems to me it's been pretty much Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco for the starter, and the other two dueling it out, the rookies dueling it out for the backup.
I don't think there's anything they could do. So, again, hearing that snippet of audio from Daryl, I'm going, Daryl, you're getting yourself way worked up more than you really need to. And that's coming from me, a guy who gets worked up all the time, because it's exactly what you just said. Like, Joe would start the season, and then I think that the difference starts to be, okay, you got 3 preseason games. You're going to have live bullets coming after you. You got those 2 guys there. Okay, we'll see what they do. If Dillon Gabriel goes out there and struggles, then I don't care how well he knows the offense, he's still struggling. And if Shedeur Sanders goes out there and does well, all right, maybe Shedeur has some things to learn. But again, I'm not asking either one of these guys to start on September 7th or whenever they start the season.
But isn't this the byproduct of this situation and the minute they took Shedeur in that pick, where me and you lost our minds because we were having so much fun with it at a local bar?
Yeah.
That the only guy that most people care about is Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
And he's the one guy that seems like he's getting the least chance when the coach said it was going to be a quarterback competition. And if the fans care about that guy and they feel like he's not getting a fair shot, and the media, anything they write or say about that guy is the stuff that gets blown up the most, like, it just stands to reason that he's the guy that's going to be under the microscope more than anybody else, as well as the guy he's competing with. And that guy he's competing with has been abysmal, to the point where Kevin Stefanski basically admitted how bad he's been. And the people that have kind of dropped in
he did say
have said it's been really, really bad.
He did say he had it wasn't a slip, but he did say that he had a bad day yesterday. He did say he had a bad day. Here's Daryl and Nick a little bit further on it yesterday.
Things get so loud if Shedeur Sanders outperforms Dillon Gabriel, because it's what everybody's kind of secretly expecting to happen, because we know that the ceiling is higher with Shedeur and the floor probably is as well, because of the intangibles, because he's bigger and he looks more like an NFL quarterback.
There's no secretly about it. We aren't expecting it because Dillon's been that bad on the practice field. Now, to be fair, it's not all been a disaster, but this week, been a disaster.
I just wonder if it gets loud to a point.
Overexposed this week.
I don't know that they're going to be able to keep hiding behind this developmental shield forever.
Yeah, it's gonna get loud if Shedeur outperforms Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders is a star. Dillon Gabriel is not. He's got a smaller fan base, but they are. Like, I've had cuss out emails and stuff about how you guys all treat Dillon Gabriel. It's like, well, I'm not the one making names or anything like that. I'm just trying to call it like it is. Obviously, he struggled. I'm not saying anything nasty about his size. can't help a size. But again, I was surprised, and you were surprised, and you haven't taken weird shots at him or anything like that because of his size.
No,
either.
but when they took him, just the people we all talked to some people that we trust and people we know, and you throw that out there, and people are like, "This is one of the biggest reaches that I can remember at quarterback."
Yeah,
like where he was taken with where he was evaluated by most teams. They said, "Man, the Browns must clearly be in love with him because nobody else is." And you were hoping he'd hit the ground running, and he's done the opposite. He looks totally overwhelmed. And for him, like we keep talking about this whole thing for Shedeur, it's actually been more unfair for him if you really think about it. A third-round pick, and then they go take a quarterback who's way more popular than him 2 rounds later. That is a recipe for really undermining a kid's confidence. And maybe the team doesn't care about that. Maybe the team's like, hey, we want the guy to emerge. So we're going to throw a bunch of obstacles at these guys, and then one will emerge. The problem is you have all these guys that need reps in one way, shape, or form. And then, man, when Kenny Pickett is healthy, he's going to steal reps.
I think some people are struggling to find logic, and I'm going, it's completely logical. I mean, they believe, and by the way, Cardiac Kid on Twitter sent me that, hey, he showed me the PFF. He goes, he is their analytical darling. That Nick Padone was right when he talked about it. I go, man, that early though, 3rd round, like showed me the PFF summaries, and it's right there. There's a lot of stuff that they liked about the guy. Okay, all right. But they're not going to go willy-nilly with their depth chart so quickly. Their depth chart is clearly what you've seen already. Joe, Kenny, Shedeur, Dillon, and then Shedeur. And they're not going to jump from that so quickly. Now, we might find out on Friday. I mean, if Dillon Gabriel goes out there and he just looks overwhelmed, I think they're betting on processing looking good, everything looking good, and then you'll get to see on Friday him run the offense. To what degree, I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be a great offense regardless. I mean, look at your wide receiver room. I mean, your wide receiver room is Jerry Jeudy, and the rest are. You got one guy who's holding on to dear life to an NFL career. You have another guy who basically can run one route over 3 years. And then you got one guy who's local, who's trying to see if he could stick on a 53-man roster, and that's a nice story. And then that's about it. I mean, that's about it. You don't have very many weapons to throw to. You have David Njoku, you have Harold Fannin Jr., who's a 3rd-round pick. I mean, look at the guys that you have. You don't have a running back right now in Quinshon Judkins because he's not there for you. So we'll see what Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford have. Is John Kelly in camp? He's like the longtime camp guy for the Cleveland Browns is John Kelly. I got to go back and see whether or not he's in camp yet. For whatever reason, it escapes me. Like your weaponry is not that great. So I don't know if any quarterback can look fantastic during this preseason, but we'll find out a little bit more on Friday. I'm not ripping him just yet, even though, according to all reports, Dillon Gabriel looks terrible. And it looks like, are you telling me the Browns made a bad draft pick? So far, the Browns have made some bad draft picks, and he may very well be another one.
Wonder.
But I'm sorry. Saturday is an opportunity for Shedeur Sanders. It's not Shedeur's fault. Arm soreness is arm soreness. If he can't go, he can't go. But it's an opportunity. He might have gotten an opportunity for reps with the ones. We don't know. Because if Kenny can't go and Joe's not going to get a bunch of reps, then Dillon Gabriel's going to get the reps.
Had they not have drafted Dillon Gabriel and then taken Shedeur in the 3rd round, which would have been worse value than where they got Shedeur, but would fans be way more, or I should say way less uneasy about this whole situation? Because I think fans are so confused. They're so confused why they took Dillon Gabriel, and then if you're going to take him where you took him, then 2 rounds later to go with the other guy who's way more popular and is going to bring way more attention. And right now, anybody online that mentions Shedeur Sanders, any of the national guys, they all know this too. Any of them that delivers any kind of, enterprising story, anybody who's even critical, whatever, they know that they're going to be swamped with mentions. And the Browns invited this to camp because they thought they would have an eye on being able to decipher between them, or that they thought they could develop all of them and then get assets for one of them.
It's not even, no.
It just seems with so many holes on the roster, this never made sense.
I think it's just this. I think we're overthinking it. I think it's just this simple. You never thought he would be there in the 5th round. He's there in the 5th round. You know that
he was there in the third round.
This season is but they like Dillon Gabriel, okay? So they decided they wanted to take Dillon Gabriel. I'm just going by what their logic is. I would have taken Dillon Gabriel in the third round. I think we're both on record. I'm just going by what their logic is supposedly supposed to be. They go and they take Dillon Gabriel. Never did you ever think that the guy would be still available in the fifth round, Shedeur Sanders. So you decided, well, what's this year all about? This year's really going to be about evaluating for next year. I know that they have to try to win some games to make sure that everybody's involved or make sure everybody's involved and gets their jobs taken to 2026. But we're trying to evaluate this year and trying to spring forward for the next year with the draft. So you might as well go ahead and take a shot at the guy who has a high ceiling, and if you can work with him, might be a bit of a bang for you in Shedeur Sanders. But the weirdest thing about this, the weird thing to me is that absolutely no one would be surprised by the result of Shedeur Sanders, the number 2 quarterback by the end of the training camp, by the start of the season, that Shedeur would play over Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur would be more successful than Dillon Gabriel as a fifth-round guy. Nobody would be surprised by that. The whole scenario of what played out in the draft all the way now to August 4th has been a bizarre set of circumstances. And the only one who has seemed to keep his head on straight has been Shedeur Sanders. I can't accuse Kevin Stefanski of not having his head on straight. You guys might, depending on where you think of the depth chart. But everybody's lost their minds, it seems, except for Shedeur Sanders. It's the only guy who's been able to keep it together. The rest of us, we're slapping tables. I've slapped tables. You've gotten upset. You've got red-faced over this. It's been a week and a half. It's been 2 weeks of training camp almost. 2 weeks. We're getting ready to play the Panthers on Friday, and we will find out what happens on Friday. I don't want to just wait until Friday all week long, but I think that I'm going to be there with bells on Friday night at 7 o'clock to see what this kid has.
But it's
see
funny.
What Dillon Gabriel has, and then certainly compare him to Shedeur.
That is what we're going to be looking at.
How could you not?
They're going to be looking at the practice. They're going to be looking at the joint practice because what Dave Canellis already said, they're playing their guys, right? They're playing their guys this week. That practice, it's only one right on Wednesday, but it's going to be a factor, and we're going to be losing our minds based on what happens in the preseason game. But how much of that is going to really resemble football, where the depth chart is going to be more on display than the actual starters? Because
I feel that in the practice on Wednesday, which we won't get to see, but remember, you're still going to wear an orange jersey or a red jersey. So in that practice on Wednesday, it's still controlled. Friday, it's not as controlled. Friday, you can get hit. And I want to see what they do with the offense. And we might find out they both just turn around and hand the ball off and we get out of here. I don't know what we're going to do. But I imagine there's going to be a couple of times like, hey, you draft these guys. Yeah, we're in a practice setting, but it's a game. Let it rip. If one looks really, really good and one looks really, really bad, or they both look good or bad or whatever it is, I think that has to stand for something. Because all I keep hearing about is because I don't know about Dillon Gabriel other than what you hear about the processing, the smarts, all the stuff that we've talked about, this, that, and the other throughout this entire process, because none of us can realize why he would be taken in the third round. So he better go out there and start having a good showing. Because if he doesn't have a good showing, then it's just their word against ours, against Browns fans. And how many times has Browns fans' word been better than the Browns over the last 25 years? Seems the Browns fans have been the ones who have ended up on the right side of things for so many years. And it usually is not supposed to be that way with fan bases in their franchises. Johnny Manziel was the one where everybody wanted to see him, and Johnny was a mess. Okay? You were wrong on that. Browns fans were wrong on that. That's one I could think of. I'm sure there's a couple, but it seems that Browns fans have been right more than the Browns.
Even Johnny had some good moments in the training camp. Go back and look. Even he had some eye-popping throws that people were ready to hype. You haven't seen any of that from Dillon Gabriel.
Well, you saw the one video that the one guy took from high atop that he said it was a dart. That people were going, well, I don't know if that was necessarily a dart. So even that's getting picked apart. Hey, I'm not trying to pour cold water on this thing. I know that, it's a lot of fun to argue about quarterbacks. This offense is not going to be good. Daryl's right about that. Padone, I'll go back and I'll say it, fine. If it's spreadsheets and charts and analytics and God knows what, okay, fair. But again, it doesn't tell me about the third round. I mean, you're still looking for guys that can start to some level eventually in the third round. Fifth round, that can be a crapshoot. I could see where it was done. But Saturday, if Shedeur Sanders is perfectly healthy and he's just standing there with his helmet in his hands on the sidelines or his helmet on, waiting to get in, and he doesn't get in, I think that everybody in the world has every single reason to scream and yell. But I don't know what the scenario was if he weren't going to be hurt, because he was out on Saturday. So if he's out on Saturday, I'm sorry, guys, it gives him the perfect out. Somebody's got to take those reps. And it's not where I believe that Dillon Gabriel took those. He probably would take more reps with the ones because he's ahead on the depth chart, but I don't think he stole them from Shedeur Sanders because Shedeur's not able to throw or wasn't on Saturday. We'll find out more today.